So the Liberals won, and we're full of problems in this country from coast to coast that we're going to have to deal with. So this week on Bakes on Things, we're going to talk about those problems and ways to deal with them yourself, because it's clear you're not going to have government support. In fact, the government support is going to be weird and off base because it's Liberal support. So without further ado, today's topic is the housing crisis. We're going to get into what the real housing crisis is, and I'll tell you, it's not just building enough homes. Let's go. Welcome back to Bakes on Things, and this week we are going to be discussing some of the problems that came up during the election campaign that are still here today because we voted in a Liberal government. One of them being the housing crisis, and the housing crisis is here to stay. I can tell you that Mark Carney's housing plan will not work. We know that, so what do we do now? Under the Carney Liberals, the housing crisis, is not, should have been prices, is not going anywhere. Prices aren't dropping on real estate. Interest rates aren't falling fast enough. And real solutions, they're nowhere to actually be found. Putting sea cans as homes is not a real solution. So the question is this: how do you or your family or your neighbors or your friends survive it? If you're in trouble or you know someone who is, if your home is at risk or you know someone whose is, if you're one payment away or someone you know is one payment away from foreclosure or a power of notice sale taped to their front door, keep watching, because today's episode is for you. We are in this together. This is how we solve it. We are giving you the tools to fight back against the things that are affecting Canadian homeowners now. And maybe, just maybe, save your time, your home as well. Okay, so first, what I'd like you to do is, if this isn't you, but you know people, please share this video. Like, subscribe, drop a comment about what you think of this, or if you have other solutions you've used. Because if you or someone you know is struggling in this housing nightmare, you're not alone, and you deserve answers. Now, number one, some of the ideas we're going to give you here should be consulted with a real estate lawyer. That is not me. So make sure that if you decide to do any of these solutions, please first consult with a real estate lawyer to make sure it's right for you. Now, let's talk about foreclosure versus power of sale, because first things first, you got to know your enemy. And in Canada, there are two main weapons lenders use when you fall behind on your mortgage. One is foreclosure, and the other is power of sale. It will depend on the province you're in, and it will depend on your jurisdiction. So again, real estate lawyer. But for foreclosure, the lender themselves goes to court and actually gets ownership of your home. You lose the ownership altogether, and then they sell it. You lose everything, including the equity within your home. Okay, it's a very slow process, so often lenders don't opt for this one, but it can be devastating. The power of sale is just as devastating, really. This one's faster and potentially deadlier because it's faster. The lender doesn't take ownership of the home necessarily. Well, they just don't. They just sell it out from underneath you. So they get paid first, but you don't get a choice on whether the home is sold. They get an order to do so. You get what's left, of course, if there's anything left. And sometimes if you're dealing with some of the private lenders or B lenders or anything like that, they're not playing around. There's certain ones, there's some great ones out there that you can work with over a long period of time, get this all resolved, but there are some that move quickly. Some of them move lightning fast, especially when home values appear to be falling across this country, and they're trying to protect their own returns. See, mix and private lenders, and even in the B space of your mortgages, all have investors that they have to pay back as well, right? So there are ways by talking to your lawyer that you can slow things down, that you can give yourself more time to get your payments up to date and get your home back. But this is something your lenders might not tell you, so we're going to cover it today on this episode, okay? Now, don't intentionally slow the process down. Work with your lender. But if you file a defense in court, that will automatically slow the process down. Even if you think you don't have a case necessarily, this will buy you some time to bring your mortgage up to date. It will also buy you some time to find your own buyer or time to refinance with a private lender. Let's say it's an A lender that you're behind with. Time to breathe, for example. Time to get the legal advice we recommend you get. Find a paralegal or a housing advocate or a real estate lawyer. It might cost a little bit, but this is your chance to save your home. What's your house worth to you? Because the big key here is to get out of arrears. The private lenders and their investors do not want to have to kick you out of your home. Despite what it might sound like when they're trying to collect, it's normal. It's their right to collect. But let's talk solutions because that's the key. Survival isn't just about defense and slowing things down. We're not trying to be malicious here. It's about offense. How can you fix your situation? You can get out of arrears. Even when the bank says no on side loans and different things that you can do to bring the mortgage payments up to date, there are private lenders and mortgage investment corporations, or MICs for short, that specialize in these situations. Yes, the rates are higher, but we're in a higher rate situation anyway. And you're not signing up for life, you're signing up to buy time. Private lenders will typically only give you a year's term, and therefore you can get out of it within a year when you've got things fixed. These lenders are more about your equity than they are your credit score, so it gives you options if you've got equity. If you have 20 to 30% of equity in your home, you can likely refinance with one of these lenders, pay off the arrears that happened with your mortgage lender, your original one, stop the foreclosure or the power of sale, and of course, stay in your home. Now, some of you might ask me, well, Chris, what if it is a private lender foreclosing on me? What if it is a private lender who is doing the power of sale? Well, there is one secret little solution that you can do in these cases that can help you to bring it back up to date. Because if it's too late, you've already done the private lender, and it is a private lender that you're working with, a MIC that's already trying to kick you out. And really, again, they're not trying to kick you out. They'd love for you to bring it up to date. But there is one more move you can make. And this is something that you have to do on a local basis. But you have to find a local rent to own company. Now, here, stay with me on this one. Here's how that works. So if you go to a rent-to-own company, oftentimes they will buy your property off of you and then lease it back to you for 2 to 3 years. Your equity gets held as your future down payment to buy it back off of them. In this case, you stay in your home and you essentially rent it from them for 3 years. And when the lease is up, you buy it back. And the equity you still had in the home when you sold it to this company is applied to the down payment. It's not a perfect solution, but if you're struggling with a private lender right now, it beats losing everything. And let's face it, Mark Carney's Liberals aren't going to ride in on a white horse and save you. If they cared about affordability, they wouldn't have let this happen in the first place, okay? Now, some people might be saying as well, what, I'm in Vancouver, I'm in the GVA, I'm in the GTA, I'm in Greater Toronto, I've got a condo. Well, condo owners, we know you're in danger too. We know this has been a very tough time for condo owners. And to all those condo owners out there thinking you're safe, well, I mean, obviously we know you're not now because the condo market has dropped 30% in sales just this month in some of our major centers. So we really have to watch the falling prices in this market, the soaring maintenance fees, the special assessments. A lot of first-time homebuyers went with condos initially because they thought that was the way to get into homes, and now they're underwater. And worse, developers are walking away from half-built projects in these towns. So here's what you can do to kind of mitigate this. And again, it's not perfect, but it's some ideas on what to do. Keep your unit pristine. If you need to sell fast, appearance matters the most. Challenge unreasonable condo fee hikes. You have the right to do that. Get in front of them and challenge it to ask why it's happening this way. You have legal rights. Use them. Get a second opinion on your property's value. Don't rely solely on your building's comps because comps are very hard in this market to compare to, comps being comparables. They might be outdated or they might be skewed, or maybe the person didn't upkeep the condo as well as you did. You got to make sure you get a second opinion. Because look, the reason that we're even doing this episode today is because the system, folks, is rigged. The government's asleep at the wheel. They do not care. They want to build a bunch of sea cans. They do and secant homes and have no driveways and lawns, and this is how they're going to solve the housing crisis. But we have to be here to help the people that are in this crisis already. And you have more options than they want you to believe. So speak to your real estate lawyer. Talk about filing that defense. Talk about finding a private lender or a MIC to help you out. Consider rent to own and a lease back in that sense to keep your home. Sell smart if you must, but don't hand over your keys without a fight. You're not just protecting a house, you're protecting your future. And you're the only one who is going to protect that. So we have to work together. The housing crisis is not just about building 500,000 new homes, which, by the way, we have never done in the history of Canada. But it's also about protecting the homes that exist today, in the markets that exist today. And they won't talk about that or support that. So now for a quick pause from all of that chaos in a segment that we call What the Maple. Well, I want to give you, this is brand new. This is what we want to do. We want to feature a business. And this week's story comes from Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, where a retired carpenter named Alan Sims has quietly been building a wheelchair ramps for free for disabled neighbors who couldn't afford them. Over 100 ramps and counting is what Alan has built so far. No headlines, no fanfare. Well, I'm sorry, Alan, but we're giving you some headlines today because what you're doing is a wonderful thing. You are one Canadian helping out another, and that's what this is going to be all about. I put out a call on the channel to say, let's feature these businesses. That's the kind of housing story, Alan, that we wish we heard more of across this country. So listen. What I want you to do is rise up as part of this. We are going to do this together. That's what this show is all about. Subscribe for more videos like this. Share this video. And remember that in Carney's Canada, survival is going to be up to us. It's not going to be left to the government. It is a strategy. So let's get strategic. And the first strategy is to cover these topics, but I also want you to submit and showcase businesses who you believe locally are struggling. You guys have been amazing. You have given this channel almost 15,000 subscribers and counting. And I want to use that audience to be able to see these businesses, especially if they have an online presence, because this show runs coast to coast. I want to make sure that we are featuring the businesses that need it the most across this country. Because if the government won't support them, if the government won't do things to help them out, then we might as well do it ourselves. And that's it. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Want to hear everything you want to talk about on the housing market under this video. And of course, stay tuned for tomorrow's episode. Thanks for watching.